Ronnie Kasrils is a former intelligence minister. He joins us now to talk about some of this. Minister, let me still call you Minister. Mr. Ronnie Kasrils, you were an intelligence minister. We're just talking about with Mr. Kagoro about a deep state and whether there's evidence thereof. What are your thoughts? And all that we're seeing, is there evidence that there's a type of governance made up of potentially secret and unauthorized networks of power operating independently of the state's political leadership?
No, I disagree with that. I think that would be a gross exaggeration of the situation in South Africa. This does not mean that there are factions within government departments. And in this case, the department, like the intelligence services, is actually not any different. It's had its schisms, its divisions, and its factions. We've seen that from the time I was a minister in 2004-05, with all sorts of goings on then, which were signs of a politicization within the intelligence services, which rendered them ineffective. And we've seen that carried on to an abnormal extent under the disastrous Zuma years, so much so that by 2018, President Ramaphosa had in place the high-level Mufamadi Committee, which delivered a report which showed there was huge dysfunction within the intelligence services, and there was no reference in any way, whether it's police intelligence, military intelligence, the state security agencies, etc., of a deep state within South Africa. That, to me, quite frankly, is an absolute absurdity. And we should avoid that at all costs. Now, I'm not sorry. Carry on with your question.
Okay, so I just wanted to latch on to that which you're speaking about. So you say it would be an exaggeration to suggest that there's evidence thereof, but would you agree that potential sources for organization thereof would include rogue elements among organs of the state, such as the armed forces that you've mentioned, public authorities like in the intelligence agencies, police, administrative AGs, and even government bureaucracy? We've heard from the State Capture Commission, which you've also just alluded to, some of these things. Is there a reality of a fractured nature that is in danger of these characteristics developing?
Yes, I think I would agree with you then. And you use the word fractured, which I think is a more relevant term, because there is fracturing within government. There has been a hollowing out of departments and an inability to actually deliver their mandate. And within that kind of situation, of course, you will have rogue elements. You will have elements with certain political objectives in mind, factionalist objectives. That has been affecting the country. And we have seen that in many instances over the years, and particularly these former years, and what the Zondo Commission is revealing. So we need to take that seriously, but it's by no means the deep state of Egypt, Colombia, these absolutely rancid states of corruption where there's no longer any real rule of law. We've got the judiciary, we've got a civil society, we've got aspects of government from the presidency and so on, which does function. But I would want to say that firstly, we have to take seriously the way that the intelligence minister, Ayanda Lordlo, who's very professional and has long experience in intelligence, because certainly there are members of these services who are professional and committed, but unfortunately too few. And the Zuma years hollowed out the ability. And I'm saying that we've got to take into serious account the point she's making about the possibility of elements who have been carrying out the background to the mayhem that we've seen.
So how long have these elements been carrying out these operations? I'll put that in inverted commas, because you keep mentioning the Zuma years, but you would recall that upon the administration of the entry of the administration of the former president, there were those who were in his camp or who were critical of his predecessor, the former president Thabo Mbeki, saying that there were elements in intelligence that were also being used to fight political battles. So how long or how far back do these attempts to secure influence, job security, enhanced power and authority have been doing what they're doing in this country?
Yeah, well, I think you've hit the nail on the head in terms of what it's actually about. It's not about, in my view, a deep state and a conspiracy and a counter-revolution and so on. I think that we've got dissatisfied elements in departments that are not working. The Mufamadi Commission points that out, and yet 3 years later, nothing has been done. And that's the actual crux of the matter. So let's avoid getting involved in these kind of pseudo-imaginative areas where we build up these conspiracies of such dark forces. The people we're talking about, I think, are incredibly inadequate and not up to the task. I think that they've been placed there above their experience and station. I don't believe that they're able to do very much except prevent the proper functioning of a department. Okay. So the key question that we have to raise at this very critical time is, A, to what extent are there elements that the minister refers to who have been involved in this atrocious activity? And we've seen members of the Zuma family and supporters actually going out on the media, the social media, issuing orders, etc. I don't believe that that's the simple explanation. I think that we've got to grasp the fact that we have not come to terms with a key issue which has led to the spontaneity, the spontaneous explosion of people seeking, and I use the word in quotes, liberating goods because of factors of hunger, of food on the table. If they steal tires, that gets exchanged into money for food. And that's what we've got to confront and have services that can deal with it. The president has got to grasp the nettle now. His cabinet and the ruling party in our whole country have to have a compact to provide a proper economic response to this kind of spontaneous outburst that we've been predicting all along. Never mind predictions from intelligence sources. We've been predicting how many of your own commentators and specialists in this country for years have been saying we're going to have the equivalent of bread riots. This can't go on, this inequality, this unemployment, this poverty. It's going to burst out. And that's exactly what's happened. So the cure isn't in terms of the conspiracy theories, the deep state, these kind of people who we give so much belief to that they can actually manage these things to this degree. Yes, they can do huge damage, but the government has got to deal with that in terms of the response on the security issue, and then the country in terms of this economic crisis that people can't put up with anymore, and that's spelt in one word: hunger.
And that's where we'll leave it. Thank you very much for former Intelligence Minister Ronnie Kasrils.